Okay, if the Rov is ready, we're ready to start.
Okay, today we're saying Kapitel Ein Tes, which is the capital of the Churban Beis Hamikdash, and we start with Mizmar L'Asaf, and the Gemara asks, should be a Kino L'Asaf? Should be a Kino. Why is it Mizmar L'Asaf? So the Gemara answers that it's a Mizmar that Rabban Shalom Shofach HaMosai Ala Eitzim Ala Avanim. And instead of destroying Klal Yisrael, Hashem went and destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, his Eitzim Avanim. He didn't destroy Klal Yisrael. So that's why Tisha B'Av is a Yontav also. If Klal Yisrael is still around, so even though we're mourning the Beis Hamikdash, but it's a Yontav that was still around, that Klal Yisrael could be here to mourn. So that's the biggest Yontav of the Rabbeinu Shalom. I destroyed my Beis Hamikdash, but I didn't destroy you. So Mizmar L'Asaf. Elohim, Boi Gai Menach L'Secha, Timis Es Herkochecha, Somis Shalaim L'Iyim, Nosnu Es Niblas Avadecha, Machaloif Shemayim, Pesachas Decha, L'Chais Oretz, Shofchadam Kamayim, Sivos Yerushalayim Vein Koiver, In Echerp L'Shkaneinu, Lag V'Keles Esmetzeinu, Admo Adoinoi Tanaf L'Netzach, Tibaka Kumayesh K'Nesecha, Shmoi Chamas Chalagoyim, Ashlo Yiduchu, Valmamchochos, Ashim Shimchaloi Karo, Keochos Yankov is Nevei Yushamu. Altis Kolon Avoin Seshoinim, Magnach Mecha Kedloinim Oid, Vazein Lashin Akpashmecha, Chatzein Lamashmecha. Lama Yoim Agoim Aya Elihayim, Yevoda Vagoim, Leneinu Nikmas Dam of Decha Shobach, Tobel Vnech Enkas Osir, Godol Zrachob, Vosa Vnech Tmusa, Vosha Vishchaim Shvesayim, Chaykom, Tapos Masha Kapichu Adoinoi. Vanach Naamcha V'Tzoim Nesecha. Noiluch Ala Oilam. The Doir V'Doir Nesaf Nesecha. We're telling the Rebbeinu Shalom, we're always around. Look at the difference between the Goyim and us. That no matter whatever happens to us, we're always around. So the Rebbeinu Shalom Shavach Monas on us. Shira Malois, Emamakim, Kasicha Adoinoi. Adoinoi Shema V'Koili. Yanazach Kashuva, Is L'Kal Tachlonoi. Mavoina is Ishmael, Adoinoi Miyamo, Kim Chaslicha, the man to Varei. Kvisa Adoina Kipsa Nafshi, the Dwara Cholti. Nafshi Adoinoi Mishoimim Labaiker, Shoimim Labaiker. Yacha Israel Adoinoi, when Yachasad Varbi Maifidos, Vivdas Israel, Nikola Vainoi Sov. Maskil DOvid. Yoisai b'maras v'la koili el Adonai Azak koili el Adonai Eskanesh v'chula nachzichi tzirasi chana v'agidi sati v'dayinu chadidat nisvasi v'chuzalech tam nufachli habei jumin urei v'eini makir avad manais b'meni ein dorish l'nafshi zak d'lech Adonai amatat mach sechel kiver zachayim akshim anazik elois miyai datzei mirai d'fai kam tzumeni Vaytzim Azganav Shloide Shmecha Biachtir Tzadikim Kisigma Ilalai Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael Nasun Tzahim the Baby Ambashav Amoko Mirachem Alem Tzim Tzorach Lacham Feira Loira Meshivat Legula Ashtav Agalov Zman Koriv Animara Mei Mishvech Havasein Avram Yitzchak Mashant Masham Yevarach Rabbe Chaim Doiv and Kreidel David ben Siman Metob Etel Shom Yosef ben Hendel ben Mordechai Balev, Rivka, Yitzchak ben Haruk Vega, Sarah Blum, Bas Mendel, Shkolos Chazek, Shkolos Nachalem, Lachlim, Avrav, Zog, Shkolam, Meheiro, Refu Shemayim, Shemayim Cholevrem, Chokedem, Sok Shor Choyle Yisrael, Huzna, Shuzak of Hashkolo, Zman, Koriv, and Oimar, Amen. Ready? So, we're going to learn tomorrow is Erev Tisha B'Av. So we have really this Erev Tisha B'Av before Chatzos, Erev Tisha B'Av after Chatzos, Tisha B'Av at night, Tisha B'Av in the morning till Chatzos, Tisha B'Av the afternoon after Chatzos, Tisha B'Av at night, and the 10th day of which really the Beis Hamikdash, most Beis Hamikdash burned on the 10th day of Dov till Chatzos. So first we'll start with tomorrow. First, since it's a very hot time in the year, and Chas v'Shalom we shouldn't get dehydrated. And Tisha B'Av, everyone should drink a lot tomorrow, especially juices, and you should eat like cucumbers are very good, and watermelon is good, grapes are good, cantaloupe, things that will make you should be hydrated. Chas v'Shalom, you shouldn't get dehydrated. Anyone on Tisha B'Av, you start feeling your head spinning, or you start feeling that your eyes are hurting, means you're getting dehydrated. You should drink right away. And Tisha B'Av is different than Yom Kippur. Tisha B'Av, it's not only a chayla sheyesh b'hiskana. Any chayla that's chas v'shalom sick and he has to eat, that's a lashon chayla shetzarech la'achal. The b'makom chayla le'gazer rabbanon. They weren't geyser. The Tisha B'Av, the fast of Tisha B'Av is not made b'makom chayla. Someone is a chayla. So anyone who has any kind of sickness, anyone who's a chayla, something that he has to eat, the halacha is that there's no shiurim, but you'll eat as much as you have to. You can't just eat a whole day. Eat as much as you have to be able to be healthy. So even pregnant women, the halacha is they have to fast unless they feel shvach and good. And nursing women, but it's not like the other three tenesim. It's not as chomer as Yom Kippur. Anyone who feels any chayla. Children, you don't have to be mechanach children till the age of a girl till the age of 12, and a boy till the age of 13. And like Shon Zalman said, at night they go to sleep anyway, so you can tell them they're fasting at night. So al chinuch, you tell them tonight you eat supper early, and we'll discuss the fast starts at 8:45, so they could eat till 8:45. And then they don't eat till next morning, so they consider like they fasted. That night, there's if just to feel that they're part of the Avelis of Kal Yisrael, of Avelis Yerushalayim. So first, I was like, so before Chatzos, the halacha is much. If someone has a bris or a siyum, they should make it before Chatzos and not after Chatzos. In the morning before Chatzos, you still could eat fleishiks, but after Chatzos, the halacha is you're not allowed to go on walks, on rides. After Chatzos, you're not allowed to even learn after Chatzos things that bring simcha. It says you should learn after Chatzos only things that you're allowed to learn Yirmi, you're allowed to learn Eicho, you're allowed to learn Eiv, you're allowed to learn Sechtes Gittin, Zayin and Ches, Ma'it Cotton, who speaks Avelis. Agudah Chaim Knevsky Shlita said he asked Chazanish after Chatzos if he has a heter to learn. He said, no, you should only learn things that you're allowed to learn. And so, but the Maimon Mordechai brings a person who's not going to learn, and instead of it's better to learn anything than read newspapers or books. So if a person, if he's not going to learn, he should learn if he learns Daf Yomi. But a person should learn before Chatzos, and after Chatzos, you should only learn the Dvarim HaMatorim. You should learn things that are Mutter. You should learn after Chatzos, and after Chatzos already. The halach is that by the Sudas HaMapsekes, you're not allowed to eat two tafshilim, you're not allowed to eat two cooked things. But before the Sudas HaMapsekes, in the afternoon, you're allowed to eat. So that's why the meaning is that we first eat a Suda to be able to fast properly. So we eat healthy things, and so we should be able to fast. And we could eat that as many tafshilim as you want. And then we daven mincha, and afterwards we eat the Sudas HaMapsekes. That means the last Suda we eat, we should only eat one cooked thing. You're not allowed to eat more than one cooked thing. But before that, you could eat a regular Suda to be healthy. You should be able to have koyach to fast. The halacha is that by the Sudas HaMapsekes, our minhag is that we eat, a roll or a bagel like a oval eats by Sudas Sabra. We eat an egg like a oval eats by Sudas Sabra. And the reason is egg shows that the more you cook becomes harder. Same in Kal Yisrael, the more they suffer, they become harder. And also, just like egg doesn't have any opening, oval can't talk. Oval is babelis. So minhag is you sit down on the floor. You don't have to take off your shoes yet, and you have to do it before 8:45. The fast starts at 8:45. So before 8:45, you sit down on the floor and you eat the bread and the egg, and the Ramah brings down. You go and you toivel. You take some ashes, you put some ashes. You put the bread in ashes. The minig is where you put the egg in ashes, because that's a simon of Avelis. But anybody then could do either the bread or and you make some ashes at home, and you sit down, and you're not supposed to have a zimun, and it's called in the Yerushalmi calls it Sudas Tisha B'Av. And some people say you should say that. This is the Suda of Tisha B'Av. It's a Tisha B'Av Suda of Avelis, that we sit down on the floor, and it's Avelis, you shouldn't schmooze with each other, then everyone should sit in the corner. And it's an Avelis de Gasuda. Morning, you eat in the morning, so you eat a little, you're allowed to drink as much as you want, then you can eat fruits that are raw vegetables, but you can't eat any cooked things. You can only eat one cooked thing. With the cooked thing is egg, and that's the Indian of Sudas Hamavsekis. And then before 8:45, we sit out in a family, we have a minig, we take 9 sips, that it's a segula. You shouldn't be thirsty a whole fast day. So we take 9 sips, and then after 8:45, you're not allowed to eat or drink, and all the halachos of Tisha B'Av start already 8:45. Halachos of Tisha B'Av. The minig is at night, we don't sit on a chair till chatzos the next day, and the Avela starts. Halachos were down there in a shul. We shouldn't have all the lights on, and the minig is that we open up the prechus like an Avelis. You take off the prechus, you open up the prechus, and it's dark. You don't put on the candles that are by the Amud. You don't put on the light by the Amud. And some people have it at home also. You don't keep the house so light as always. It's an Avelis time. It's a time that like the Gemara brings down that a city was hurt because there weren't Ma'abel Yerushalayim. The Yavitz and Chamsvi write that all the tzoros that comes in Klal Yisrael is because we're not Ma'abel Yerushalayim properly, because we don't feel Avelis Yerushalayim. And really, you're supposed to be every day, especially now, these next 2 days are really when you're supposed to show the real Avelis Yerushalayim, not to find loopholes why you could schmooze and why you could read. You should know these are days that even you're not allowed to learn, culture, you're not allowed to read other things and listen to the radios and think after chatzos of Erev Tisha B'Av. It's a day of Avelis. It's a day of, remember, you can read about the Holocaust, which is a part of Holocaust, is part of the Churban Beis Hamikdash. It's part of Churban of Klal Yisrael, goes of Klal Yisrael. You can read about all the Chabanas, Tachvatat, the Gerish Spania, and Tat Nun. All these things are mentioned in the Kinnis. We have the Kinnis that I mentioned. We have the Kinnis, we say the Kinnis, and the Kinnis, we also, at the end of the Kinnis, we say in Besmedrish, the Kinnis for the Holocaust, because that's all part of the Churban Beis Hamikdash. All this is part of the long Churban Beis Hamikdash that we have. So anything that you remember the Churban of Klal Yisrael, you could read, but stam to read other things you shouldn't a whole day. And people make a mistake that after chatzos of Tisha B'Av, everything's mutter. The only thing after chatzos is mutter is that after chatzos of Tisha B'Av, you're allowed to sit on a chair, and after chatzos of Tisha B'Av, we put on tefillin. And I'll explain later why we don't put on tefillin in the morning. So at night, the minhag is so you start 8:45, you start the fast, and all the chamisha nuyim of eating, drinking, washing, and anointment, and all these start right away 8:45. Someone who always puts on sanitizer, or someone always washes their hand, someone always washes their hand with soap and water, even with hot water after coming home, because of the COVID, you're allowed to do it on Tisha B'Av also. If you're doing this rechitza, that's not L'Shem Tainug. So you're allowed to, and the same thing, sicha, it's not L'Shem Tainug. So you're allowed to, you're allowed to sanitize your hand, you're allowed to wash your hand with soap and water if you always do it. You don't always do it, and all of a sudden you become a tzaddik on Tisha B'Av, that's wrong. But if you always do it, then you're allowed to do it on Tisha B'Av also. And the loch is that, we say at night, we daven Ma'ariv, say Kinnis, and we say Eicha, and even a person is B'Yochid should also say Eicha. We say Eicha, the halacha, we don't make a bracha on Kriyas Eicha, we don't do it, but we say Eicha, and women used to, and my mother, all the women used to get together and they used to lay in the Tzanerena, used to lay in about the Churban. To remember the Churban Beis Hamikdash is a mitzvah to speak about the Churban Beis Hamikdash. That's the mitzvah of the day. The mitzvah is to speak and remember Churban Beis Hamikdash. So at night it says when you go to sleep, So first of all, the shaila is, what do you say by Krishma at night? Goran Chaim Kanievsky Shlita says that he only says the first part of the bracha of Shema and Hamapel B'yotcha Af Gedruchi. That's all he says. Others have those who say every day. All the other tefillas that you say by Krishma every night, say it always. You could say it, but someone doesn't always say it. Should only say Hamapel and Shema. But those who say always, the halacha, anything you do every day, you say to Hayom, you could do. And then when you go to sleep, it says you shouldn't sleep with regular enjoyment. Means some people sleep on the floor, and some people, if you use a few pillows, you only use less pillows. Means, but someone who needs it, someone who has a backache, or someone, a woman who is pregnant, or someone who needs the pillows for health or for they should be able to sleep. But if not, you're supposed to make the sleep shouldn't be so comfortable. And the minhag is to put a rack underneath where you sleep, just like Yaakov Avinu took Ma'avnei HaMakayim, which says he remembered the Churban. So you take a rack and you put it there, and then it says that Tisha B'av is one of the mashkim, one of the days where you get up early. So first of all, Mincha we can daven tomorrow in Besmedrish 6:30. So I said you eat regular Suda before Mincha, and after Mincha you eat some Sekas. Then 9:15 we're gonna have Meir and Eicha, and then in the morning we're gonna have the first minute we'll daven the Vesikin, which is one of the 5 times when you daven Vesikin is Tisha B'av, and then we'll have a minyan 8:30, and you sit on the floor till Chatzos. You sit on the floor until Chatzos. It says you shouldn't do anything that's Mesiach Das Mahavelis. Means the whole time you should say kinnis and don't do anything. Means till Chatzos, and you don't put on tefillin. It says the reason we don't put on tefillin is just like by Avelus. The first day of Avelus we don't put on tefillin because it's fresh in front of you. Before Chatzos, it's like the Avelus is in front of you. It's like you like we mentioned the whole time that the 3 weeks and the 9 days and Tisha B'av are the opposite of regular Avelus. The regular Avelus starts first. You have Aninus, then Avelus, and then the Shiva Shloshim, and then a whole year. So here we start first with 3 weeks, which is like a whole year, and then the 9 days like the Shloshim, and the Tisha B'av in the morning is like the Avelus B'fonav. So that's why we don't put on minhag, we don't put on tefillin, and we don't say Berchas Kahanim because we're not besimcha, so we don't say Berchas Kahanim in the morning. But and also that's what's interesting. We don't say Tach. Like we mentioned, the reason we don't say Tach because it's a yontiv really. It's a karalai moyed. We don't say Tach. We don't say namesake because it's a yontiv and it's going to be a yontiv as Hashem. So the halacha is till Chatzos. Even someone that says has to smoke, shouldn't smoke till Chatzos. Till Chatzos is a time where you really feel Avelus B'fonav. Remember, I was by Satmar Rebbe's Levaya. Somebody took a cigarette in his mouth. So someone screaming, "Wie kannst du a cigarette jetzt?" So Avelus B'fonav. So and this is that time when people still smoking. Nowadays we know Chas v'shalom, if you smoke, what it does, it might be Avelus smoke even. So, but anyway, so till Chatzos you shouldn't do anything, not prepare anything. Chatzos till Chatzos you oisig and Avelus. You say kinnis. You shouldn't. It says even the kinnis shouldn't go out shmuz, talk to anybody. Till Chatzos, and the minhag is after kinnis you say eicha, and we don't say tiskabel by davening in the morning because the sign to velocity, because our tefillah, the Bain Shalom says that we're in Avelus now. The tefillah is not so much tiskabel. After Chatzos, we want to show that with the Mund b'tochim we have in Bain Shalom. After Chatzos, it's already more like Shiva, so we put on talis and tefillin, but we don't sit on chairs either to show that we're the Avelus. So we put back the proichos on the Aron Kodesh, and we light the candles in the Beis Medrash. We light all the candles to show that we have the Tochen and the Bain Shalom, that he's surely going to take us out of this golus. This golus is going to end. So we're showing the in and out of Avelus. We show the betochen, and because of the betochen, the Hashem is going to help. So in the morning, we say all the davening, except we don't say the yoim and pit matoris at the end. So we say that at night, by mincha, you put out talis and tefillin, and we say the 4 pashtus in the talis in the tefillin, and then you say the halacha is that someone says tefillin every day. You could say tefillin after chatzos. The tefillin that you say every day, you could say after chatzos. Anything you skipped in davening in the morning, you could say after chatzos. but everything else is usher. All the annoyment, this of limit Torah. Some people heard people learning Daf Yomi in the afternoon. Tisha B'av, it's Erev Tisha B'av. There's a heter to learn, but but on Tisha B'av till at night, till the tinus is over, which is 9:34. All the nuyim, all the 5 nuyim, the eating, drinking, and washing, and everything is there a whole time till at night. You're not allowed to do it. And it's the same thing Israel in the Torah. It goes till 9:34. All the surim go till then. And the minig is that after in the morning, before after chatzos, we go to basic chorus to dam to Rebbeinu Shalom. Remember that we're in Avelis now, and so you go to the basic oilam, and some people don't go onto the kibbutz, just around the kibbutz. And dam to Rebbeinu Shalom that they should take us out of his golos. But after chatzos, you're allowed already, if you want to cook things, prepare things for eating after the tinus. A woman is allowed to, man, you're allowed to cook then, and you're allowed to even get your hand wet when you're cooking. It says in the halacha, you don't have to worry that it gets hand because you're not the same thing in the morning. It says when you wash your hand in the morning, you should only wash till your knuckles, but you could take when your hand is still a little wet, you're allowed to clean your eyes. You always clean it. You're not allowed to rinse your mouth. You're not allowed to brush your teeth. And anytime you go to the washroom, you wash until the knuckles. Someone who has to eat on Tisha B'av, someone's not allowed to fast and has to eat on Tisha B'av. The halacha is that you can wash your whole hand, till your wrist, like you wash every day. Because for eating, you have to wash your whole hand. For neglas, you don't have to wash your whole hand. But for eating, you have to wash your whole hand. And you bench, you don't say nachem by benching. We don't say nachem by benching. And then a whole day you're still Isaac in halachos of Tisha B'av. You're allowed to prepare for, you're not allowed to do laundry, you're not allowed to do anything. At night, we daven Ma'ariv, then we do Kiddush Levana. We didn't do Kiddush Levana a whole 9 days because you has to be besimcha. Kiddush Levana says it has to be besimcha. Since we're not really besimcha till after the Tisha B'av, so we do the Kiddush Levana afterwards. And you don't have to run home and put on your shoes and wherever you have, if you have a minion there, the mitzvah of Brek Amad Melech outweighs all the other inyanim of eating first. And so you say Kiddush Levana with the minion, you say it right afterwards, then you go eat. So that we said there's man is we can daven Ma'ariv in shul. There's gonna be 3 minyanim for mincha. There's 1 minyan 2 o'clock, mincha g'dola 6 o'clock, and 8:10, and then Ma'ariv will be 9:15 and 9:34 for the tinus ends. According to the regular man, and 9:56 according to Rebbeinu Tam's man, and you do Kiddush Levana even if you're still fasting. You could do Kiddush Levana b'minyan, Rebbeinu Hadus Melech, and at night you're not allowed to eat meat and drink wine till the next day chatzos. And the reason, like we mentioned before, because really the Beis Mikdash burned mainly on Yud. So in a regular year, all the things, we don't do laundry, you don't take haircuts, and everything till chatzos. This year, laundry could be done right after 9:34. You could do laundry already, prepare for Shabbos. You could do the laundry, taking a shower and cutting hair. It's better not to do it till the morning unless there's no time. But if not, it's better if there's enough time to do it in the morning. And meat and wine, you're not allowed to eat and drink till chatzos, till 1:34. You're not allowed to eat. Somebody who can't fast really on Tisha B'av. If he could fast till chatzos, is in fasting till chatzos. If they could fast, and they should say Anenu and Nachem and Mincha. The halacha is you don't repeat the Shemon Esrei if you forgot Anenu and Nachem. So on the Asiri, the 10th day, and even though usually we don't do any laundry, you don't do anything till chatzos. This year you could do laundry in the morning. You could, at night already, even you could take haircuts in the morning. You could take showers, hot bath, but we shouldn't listen to music till chatzos, and because there's no reason, music has nothing to do with preparing for Shabbos, and we shouldn't eat meat and wine till 1:24. The Bible should help that it says Sem Chamishi will become a yontav year l'me'adim. It will be a yontav by, like you mentioned, it's already a yontav. That we're here still remembering the Churban. Klal Yisrael still is Mizmay L'Asaf. It's a yontav that we are still here remembering the Churban. The Bible should help. It says, "Kol Misabel Yerushalayim." Anyone who is Misabel Yerushalayim properly, will be Roy B'Simchasa. So a person should try to be Ma'abel Yerushalayim. Remember, we don't have the Beis Hamikdash. We don't have, on the Makom Hamikdash when you go in Eretz Yisrael, and that always tears at my heart. On the Holy of Holiest stands the mosque. On the Holy of Holiest, where Kohen Gadol is scared to go in, the Kohen Gadol is scared to go in Kodesh Kedoshim. That's where they trample there, and this is the Banisham shows us that the Churban, Ad Masa Yuscha Vashvi. We say in Tachna, how long will your strength be in Shvi conquered? Why is it there? The churches are there in the Makom HaMikdash. The Churban, the biggest Churban you see when I come down, that's why I take Kri always. When you see the mosque and you see the churches on the Makom HaMikdash. So we have, the should help, but we should be Zoicha by remembering we're missing the Beis HaMikdash. We don't have the Beis HaMikdash. We don't really have even Malchus Rebbe Goy main Torah. Our Torah is not a Torah the way it's supposed to be. Our Kedusha is not Kedusha. Until the Beis HaMikdash will be built, should help that we should all be Zoicha to see the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, to run the Oile Regel, to see the Beis HaMikdash, if Tifarta Babir Zagorel, the Meher B'Yimeinu Amen. You should all have an easy fast. You should prepare yourself for the fast. You shouldn't chas v'shalom get sick and dehydrated from the fast.
Amen. Yeshua, thank you. Anyone has questions to the Rov, of course, they can call directly. I did get some questions here. The Rov can clarify what time is Chatzos tomorrow?
124.
124?
Yeah.
124 is Chatzos. And the Rov spoke about different minyanim for Mincha. The Rov said 2, 6, and 8, 10. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, different than what's written on the original chart.
No, it is on the original chart.
It was on the original as 2, 6. Okay, so my information is incorrect. So 2, 6, and 8:15. Of course, if you can register for those minyanim, that would help. We ask that you register. We have a few moments here to discuss something very relevant to the 9 days. First of all, I should mention the sponsors for today's Loop Radio is the Anisfeld family, Little Nishmas, Agudah Broadcasting, who Yartzeit is tonight and tomorrow, and the Würzburger family, Lilu Nishmas, there's a Refuah Shalema for Raya Bas Tzila. The 9 days is an appropriate time, as the Rav said, to reflect on our history as well as the present. And last week we took a look back at our history with Rabbi Quadrat. This week we are focusing on the present and the opportunity that is today. The Rav over the last few months has continued to underline this message about what opportunity do we have right now. Loi b'shamayim, loi me'ever hayam. What do we have to do close? And close at hand, we all know about the chasadim that are done in this city, both individually and collectively and by groups. So on Erev Tisha B'Av, especially with the Yartzeit of Mrs. Anisfeld, who we all remember as a paragon of chesed, it's a great opportunity to welcome DOvid Kann here on behalf of Zeh Lazeh. Some of you have heard about this group and what all the chesed that they do. And Rebbe Tzimloi actually suggested, since it started with some people, or certainly is being managed by some people in the Agudah, very nice to have you. Good night and good evening, Reb DOvid. And why don't you tell us a little bit about Zeh Lazeh?
Okay, so Zeh Lazeh is an organization. I don't know if it's an organization. It's probably more appropriate to call it a group that was put together very quickly soon after Corona broke out in Toronto, which was right after Purim. So I'd say about a week before Pesach, it started. But truthfully, Zeh Lazeh actually started.
Once I stayed on, Dan,
Oops, is that okay? Just give me one moment and we're going to find where the source of the noise is. If you're trying to listen to yourself at the same time, it's a difficult task, Reb DOvid. So try to concentrate on the answer and go ahead. So it's a group of people who get together, and what do they do?
So actually, Zeh Lazeh started, I believe it started in 2001. After September 11, there were Yidden that were in New York, and if anyone remembers, I don't, the cell phone towers were broken, or the phone towers were broken, and Yidden had trouble making phone calls and finding out about their relatives. So Reb Faivy Mund, who happens to be the founder, put together some kind of system to network with Toronto Yidden. If anyone remembers, a lot of planes were also routed to Toronto then, I think. And so it was a chesed thing that took place then. And as soon as it was no longer relevant, it phased out. So now during Corona, so Zeh Lazeh came back to life. And basically what it is a group of volunteers that would help the community. It was realized that there was a need for the community to have people who can help out. There were many elderly people that were stuck at home, and they did not have access to shopping or medication, stuff like that. And there were also people that were pushed afraid to go outside. So immunocompromised people, there was a very long list of people that needed someone to help them out. So the main points were to organize a number that people could call and get volunteers to help out, those people that needed help.
So how do you get the message out to those people who need the help? If somebody is at home and he's not communicating, or he might be communicating, how does he know who to call? In addition to that, when he calls, who does he hear? I don't see you guys wearing jackets or have fancy cars. How do I know to make that call? I mean, if you tell me the fancy cars are coming or sirens are coming, then I'll know how to get a hold of you.
Right. So in today's day and age, it's not so hard to get the word out. There's a lot of groups. There's Agudah. I believe Agudah has a nice email newsletter group. There's Meet and Greet and Toronto Yidden and all these various groups. And word of mouth, basically. And people told their family and friends and grandparents and whoever else may need the service. And the word got very, very far.
So I'm calling Zeh Lazeh because my son doesn't do his homework, or my wife asked me to take out the garbage, and I don't want to, because it sounds very much like you do what Chaverim does.
Does
right?
Chaverim take out your garbage?
If not yet, I'm going to ask the Rov if they're allowed to tell me no if I continuously call them. But in other words, I guess my question is the triage, when the intake of the call, how do you qualify a call that comes in?
So there weren't many abusers at all. People that called in were usually people who were elderly, were afraid to go out, said they haven't gone out in a few days, and they don't know what to do. Or usually this person comes to bring them their shopping and now they can't. Very few times we had people that were too lazy to get off the couch. But in that case, there was actually once a case in New York where a volunteer, wrote to the dispatch chat, I came to the house with the groceries and I'm schlepping and I'm huffing and puffing and there's no one home.
I'm going to ask the Rav here, is a person have halacha of azov tazov imoy in that case? I'm supposed
in a time of Corona, anything you do is vikschus, and people feel lost. Like everyone speaks about psychologically what happened to people. So some people, that's the only connection they had to people. I know, we know Goldie Anisfeld from our shul was very involved in the intake. She had all kinds of calls and people, she spoke, and people, there was some people, that's what the only thing that helped them stay normal and stable was to have someone who they could call, and so sometimes they made a mishug also, but it is a mitzvah because over here, it's not only the mitzvah, the physical azov tazov, it's also the psychological azov tazov, the spiritual azov tazov. And so I think anything, that's what Zeh Lazeh accomplished, that someone knows they're not alone. They don't have to be scared where am I going to get, it's not like the Mund, they don't have to be scared where I'm going to get my food tomorrow. They know they could call Zeh Lazeh and they'll take care of it. And Zeh Lazeh did all that. They went and picked up coupons and this and that, and it was the biggest chus for the city and for all over, where Zeh Lazeh expanded all over. it's big schus.
And it started in the city. Is that what you're saying, DOvid? That it started here in Toronto?
Yes, I need to say that I'm just a mouthpiece for the organization. I did very, very little. I'm very honest here. I did much less than Miss Anisfeld or than Reb Faivy Mund or his wife, or Chaim Sachs and his wife. Or there were many, many, many people who were mamish busy with it day and night. And I have to say also that Miss Anisfeld, every case that was sort of like like the Rov said, someone needed someone to talk to, was routed to her. And, we actually got phone calls from people in the mental health community, in the frum community, who told us, if anyone needs our help, you could refer them to us. But there were definitely people who called just because they needed someone to talk to. And Baruch Hashem, we were able to, route them in the right direction.
It's just what strikes me, because the shopping, without stereotyping or being politically incorrect, is mostly a woman's job, is it not? I'm not, and nothing against you. I'm sure when you get sent to buy groceries, you always come back with exactly what your wife asked you to bring you. But do the majority of volunteers are women? If that's the calling of the job, is shopping?
I don't know if the majority were women, were men. It may be that they were women. I would say it was a nice divide, but believe me when I tell you that if you send a man shopping enough times and he gets screamed at by the recipient enough times for not coming with the right stuff, they learn very quickly.
Okay. So walk me just through it. So how long from the time they call till they actually get their groceries? Okay.
So really it depended. We would ask the person how. There were times when lead time was a little bit not normal because Pesach was coming and everyone needed huge shoppings all of a sudden. And we had to ask the people, do you need it today? Can it be tomorrow? Some people didn't need it urgent, but they knew before the end of the week that they need their shopping done. So we did it that way. Mr. Friedman from Savers helped us out very much. He gave us priority in the hours, and there was shortened hours during that time in the store, and he had his store open for us until very late, just for volunteers to shop. So we had an empty store. We didn't have to worry about volunteers being open, susceptible to any more risks than they were already, and that helped us. And they also packed our orders with priority because they knew these are people who, it's important for them to get their groceries quicker, and that helped a lot.
So I guess the final question, because we're getting close to the end of the time. At the peak, how many volunteers did you have? So here in Toronto, how much did you say a WhatsApp group is allowed to have? 256? 256, at least. 256 people on a WhatsApp group. So there were a number of times when we had to announce that whoever's not active on this group should leave the group and allow other people on, because there were so many people that were trying to get on. But so you would post this person needs shopping, who's willing to do it, and then a volunteer would say, I'll do it? You didn't assign a specific person to a job. Right. So the intake, there were about 10 dispatchers, and the intake would write down exactly what the recipient may need. The caller wants. Right. And then what's involved, and take any necessary information, their address, their phone number, their credit card number, whatever it was, and then announce, okay, who's available to do a shopping on, in No Frills, up north, and deliver it to this and this address. And then when a person responded, they got a private response from the dispatcher giving them that information. Amazing. Okay, thank you so much for coming on. I'm just going to read you, since this is our last Loop Radio for the show for this summer. If the Rov is still here, I'd like him to give you a bracha, but I just want you to hear the list of people who've been on this program previously, and I want to give them hakaras hatov as well. As we head into the summer, I want to thank Tzvi Hirschman, Hanan Sturm, Moish Krieger, Dr. Ron Phillipson, politicians Jane Pasternak, Roman Baber, Michael Levitt, Dr. Lauren Langer, Mr. Sal Litvak, the accidental Talmudist, Mr. Shlomi Zayans, the wandering Jew, Mr. Simcha Rotman, Rabbi Shmuel Klein, Rabbi Moshe Tau, Rabbi Chaim David Zwiebel, Rabbi David Engel, Rabbi Yehuda Cohen Oppenheimer, Mordechai Schmutter, Rabbi Quadrat, and of course Mordechai Rothschild, DOvid Kann. You've been added to this list. I want to thank Yossi Simon very much. I want to thank my wife and family. I want to thank Rabbi Philip for Hilchas Shabbos, but mostly I'd like to thank the Rov for continuously encouraging and always appearing. He's been the number one. I don't think he's missed any shows since we started. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in and all your encouragement. And if the Rov wants to give a bracha to Zeh Lazeh and all the people who really are involved in Chasadim, as we mentioned.
It's the biggest chus that Beis Mikdash was chor because of sinas chinam. So the tikkun is zahava. Zeh Lazeh is the biggest zahavas chinam. And I know, I spoke to Ms. Anisfeld many times. She had Bochum, she had all kind of people helping. And people, they went and nudged them and bothered them. And so I want to, thank Rabbi Kanner and the whole Zeh Lazeh. It's the biggest chus for our community. I think maybe there's chus because of Zeh Lazeh, we didn't have any fatalities. I think the chus of the chesed is the shuver tzedakah. Tzedakah and chesed is the biggest. It is the biggest anti for all the bad things. And I think the schutz that we had in this community, and because of this community, 18 other communities also had Zeh Lazeh through this community. So the should help that all those who took care, especially you, Rebbe Kanner, and all those, and who were part of it, should be mizak. Everyone should have. Should give you everything you need. Physically, spiritually, ruchnis, the gashmias, in every way. We should all be zoichel together with the Zeh Lazeh, to see Zeh Lazeh run up to the Beis Mikdash. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. The Rav, I just want to clarify the question. Somebody asked about Mincha tomorrow as opposed to Tisha B'Av.
Tomorrow, Mincha 6:30.
Mincha tomorrow is 6:30.
I see it. Originally, there was said 6:30 and 7:15, but I see the new man, but could be. Originally, it said on this man 6:30 and 7:15. I sued the Loser brother gave me a new son, only 6:30, but originally it said on this man 6:30 and 7:15. So
now we're having 1 million. So we're sticking to 2 minyanim tomorrow.
I don't know. I wasn't the one who changed it to 6:30. I saw.
Akiva, sorry to interrupt. There's on the doodle poll. There's a 6:30 and a 7:15. There's no registrations for 7:15. So. Okay. I don't think we can count on the 7:15 minute.
Okay. 6:30. That's why Hashem made it 6:30. As I saw the newsman that the loser brother gave me, it only had 6:30 on it. So
thank you. Is the Rav giving a shiur for women tomorrow at 10:30? Or
no, there's no shiur.
There's no shiur tomorrow. Okay, there will be a Sounds Like Shabbos. We're wrapping up Loop Radio for at least another 4 to 5 weeks, but there will be a Sounds Like Shabbos. Heshi Menzelevsky's bar mitzvah, Heshi Menzelevsky's Ufruf. Hopefully, we'll be in Yerushalayim. Thank you very much, Daf Yomi. I think it's nice.
I want to take this opportunity to thank Akiva and Yossi. It's unbelievable what the whole Zoom did, and all the shurim on Zoom and everything that Zoom did the last 4 months. It brought the kehillah. I know other kehillas were very jealous of what we have. That brought and Akiva was believe in nefesh. What we did for the kehillah, we did for Klal Yisrael. I should help Akiva and Yossi and the whole ABC. Should be zoicha to all the brachos that they need in ruchnius and gashmius, physically, spiritually, in every way, health, and zoicha together to the next Zoom program should be zooming into the Beis Mikdash.
Amen. Amen. Yeshikoyach. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. Have easy fast.
Good night.
Amen.
Good night to the Rav.
Good night, Rav.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi
Amen.
Lowy.
Thank
Eva,
you.
for all your wonderful broadcasts.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Lowy.
Thanks, Rabbi Lowy.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Rabbi Lowy. So sei na guten Morgen.
Thank you very much and easy fast.
Is there a recording of the shir? Is there a recording of the shir?
Akiva, is there a recording of this? Akiva?
You unmute yourself.
It looks, yeah, it is on YouTube, so there should be.
Thank you so much. Yeshakaya, Rabbi Lowy, have an easy fast.
And you show some easy fast.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Nice.
Good night.
You heard you, so thank you.
Shall I have to start again, or we're gonna go straight to the shiur? One more minute, everybody leaves here. Oh, there we go. Yeah, we're gonna go in.
Who's that?
Ten. Akiva, this is it?
No, this was it for Loop Radio. We're wrapping up Loop Radio for the season. There is one more, sounds like Shabbos on Friday.
There is. When is the fall season starting?
Well,